In our last series, we followed kings who ruled kingdoms. Some possessed incredible wisdom. Some built mighty empires. Some ignored God's warnings. And some humbled themselves before the truth. But every king had one thing in common. When they stood at history's greatest crossroads, there was always someone sent to confront them. They weren't warriors. They weren't politicians. They were prophets. For centuries, prophets stood before kings, warned nations, predicted kingdoms, and witnessed visions so extraordinary, people are still trying to understand them today. Today, our journey begins with the prophet who saw heaven itself. The year was approximately 740 BC, according to Isaiah chapter 6. King Uzziah had just died. For Judah, it was a season of uncertainty. A powerful king was gone, and no one knew what would come next. But while the nation looked at an empty throne, Isaiah looked upward, and what he saw would become one of the greatest visions in the entire Bible. I saw the Lord, high and lifted up, seated upon his throne, and the train of his robe filled the temple. Isaiah 6:1. But Isaiah wasn't alone. Above the throne were heavenly beings. The Bible calls them seraphim. Each had 6 wings. With 2 they covered their faces. With 2 they covered their feet. And with 2 they flew. And they cried to one another, Holy, holy, holy is the Lord of hosts. The whole earth is full of his glory. The sound shook the temple itself. Isaiah didn't celebrate. He didn't boast. He didn't ask for power. He cried out, Woe is me, for I am undone. I am a man of unclean lips. Then one of the seraphim flew to the altar. He took a burning coal and touched Isaiah's lips, saying, Your guilt is taken away. Your sin is atoned for. Then Isaiah heard a voice, Whom shall I send? And who will go for us? Isaiah answered, Here am I, send me. One of the most courageous responses in all of Scripture. We often ask, God, what is your plan for my life? But Isaiah teaches something deeper. Before God gives direction, he transforms the person. Calling comes after surrender. But Isaiah wasn't the only prophet to witness impossible visions. The next prophet saw something so mysterious, people are still debating its meaning. 26 centuries later, he called it a wheel within a wheel. So let me ask you, if you stood where Isaiah stood and witnessed what he witnessed, what do you think your first words would be? I'll be reading every comment. And if you're ready for the next vision, then like, follow us and subscribe. Because this journey has only just begun. The year was around 593 BC. Jerusalem was under judgment. Many of its people had already been taken into exile by Babylon. Among them, a young priest named Ezekiel. He probably expected to serve in God's temple. Instead, he found himself beside a foreign river. Then, Ezekiel looked north. He saw a great storm, a massive cloud, flashing fire, and brilliant light. The Bible says, the appearance of glowing metal shone from within it. Ezekiel 1:4. Out of the cloud came 4 living creatures. Each had 4 faces, a human, a lion, an ox, and an eagle. Each had 4 wings, and beneath those wings, something like human hands. Later, Ezekiel identifies them as cherubim. See Ezekiel 10:20. And then, Ezekiel saw something that has puzzled readers for centuries. A wheel within a wheel. The wheels sparkled like beryl. They moved in every direction, without turning, and they were covered with eyes all around. Ezekiel 1:15-18. For generations, people have asked, what exactly did Ezekiel witness? Some say, a symbolic vision of God's glory. Others have suggested something beyond human understanding. But Scripture never calls it a machine. It calls it a vision. And at its center was the presence of God. Above the wheels, above the cherubim, was something like a throne. And seated upon it was one with the appearance of a man. Ezekiel could barely describe what he saw, so he repeatedly used the words like, appearance, resemblance, because human language wasn't enough. We live in a world that wants every mystery explained. But Ezekiel reminds us, some truths are meant to inspire awe, not reduce God to something we can fully understand. The greatest mystery was never the wheels, it was the glory they carried. But Ezekiel wasn't the only prophet to receive impossible visions. The next prophet didn't just interpret dreams, he survived a den of lions and saw kingdoms rise and fall centuries before they existed. His name was Daniel. So let me ask you, if you had stood beside Ezekiel that day, what do you think you would have seen? Watch till the end and subscribe, because the year was approximately 553 BC. Babylon was still the greatest empire on earth. But while kings slept peacefully, Daniel received a dream that would reveal the rise and fall of kingdoms. Daniel chapter 7 begins with 4 winds stirring up a great sea. In biblical prophecy, the sea often represents the restless nations of the world, and out of that chaos, 4 terrifying beasts emerged. The first was like a lion, with eagle's wings. The second resembled a bear, raised up on one side. The third looked like a leopard, with 4 wings and 4 heads. But the fourth was unlike anything Daniel had ever seen. It was terrifying, powerful, and impossible to compare. Later in the chapter, an angel explains, these beasts represent kingdoms. Many scholars understand them to symbolize Babylon, Medo-Persia, Greece, and a fourth kingdom that has been interpreted in different ways throughout history. The Bible identifies them as kingdoms, but faithful readers have long differed on the precise historical details of the fourth. But then, Daniel noticed a little horn. It spoke with arrogance. It challenged God's people, and became one of the most discussed symbols in all of biblical prophecy. Who or what it represents has been understood differently across Christian traditions, but every interpretation agrees it symbolizes opposition to God's authority. Then, the vision changed. Daniel saw the Ancient of Days. His clothing was white as snow. His throne was flames of fire, and thousands upon thousands stood before him. The judge of all creation took his seat. Then Daniel witnessed one like a son of man, coming with the clouds of heaven. He was given authority, glory, and an everlasting kingdom. Centuries later, Jesus repeatedly used the title, Son of Man, inviting his listeners to connect his mission with Daniel's vision. See Daniel 7:13-14 in the Gospels. Empires rise, empires fall. History keeps changing, but Daniel's vision reminds us that no earthly kingdom lasts forever. Above every throne stands a greater king. But Daniel wasn't the only prophet to predict the future. The next prophet did something almost unimaginable. He bought land. While Jerusalem was under siege, everyone thought he had lost his mind. But Jeremiah saw hope beyond destruction. Why would anyone invest in a city that was about to fall? If I were you, chosen one, I'd watch till the end and subscribe, because the year was approximately 587 BC. Jerusalem was surrounded. The Babylonian army, led by Nebuchadnezzar II, had tightened its grip. Famine filled the streets. Hope was disappearing. And Jeremiah was imprisoned. Then, God told Jeremiah something extraordinary. Buy the field. Not after the war. Not when peace returned. Now, the land was in enemy territory. The city was about to fall. Yet God commanded an investment in the future. Read it in Jeremiah 32. Jeremiah obeyed. He weighed out 17 shekels of silver. He signed the deed, called witnesses, and sealed the documents. It wasn't symbolic. It was a real purchase, during a real siege, with real money. Then God explained why houses, fields, and vineyards shall again be bought in this land. Jerusalem would fall, but it would not stay fallen forever. Judgment would not have the final word. But Jeremiah's greatest prophecy was still to come. In Jeremiah 31, he spoke of a new covenant, not written on stone, but written on human hearts. A promise that Christians later connect with the ministry of Jesus. There are moments when faith looks unreasonable, when obedience doesn't make immediate sense. Jeremiah teaches us that trusting God often means planting seeds you may not see grow right away. Jeremiah wasn't investing in land, he was investing in God's promise. Sometimes the greatest act of faith is believing that God is already preparing tomorrow, even when today looks impossible. But Jeremiah wasn't the only prophet who witnessed death and restoration. The next prophet was carried into a valley filled with dry bones, and what happened next still stands as one of the most unforgettable visions in the entire Bible. So here's my question: if everything around you looked hopeless, would you still have the courage to invest in God's promise? I'll be reading every comment, and if you're ready for one of the Bible's most breathtaking visions, subscribe. Tonight, we enter a valley where hope didn't just disappear, it had turned into bones, and God asked one impossible question. The vision came around 585 BC. Jerusalem had fallen. The temple had been destroyed. Thousands were living in exile. To many, it felt as though Israel's story had come to an end. But God wasn't finished. The Spirit of the Lord led Ezekiel into a valley. It wasn't filled with soldiers. It wasn't filled with survivors. It was filled with dry bones. The Bible says they were very many and very dry, meaning death had been there for a very long time. See Ezekiel 37:1-2. Then God asked, "Son of man, can these bones live?" Imagine standing there. No heartbeat, no breath, no life. Ezekiel answered carefully, "Sovereign Lord, you alone know." Then God said, "Prophesy to these bones." Not to living people, not to a crowd, to dry bones. So Ezekiel obeyed, and suddenly, a sound, a rattling, bone, came to bone. Then, muscles appeared, skin covered them, but they still did not breathe. So God said, "Prophesy to the breath." And when Ezekiel spoke, breath entered them. They stood up, a vast army. See Ezekiel 37:9-10. God didn't leave the vision unexplained. He said, "These bones are the whole house of Israel." They believed. Their hope was gone. But God promised He would restore them. The vision first spoke to a nation in exile and became a lasting picture of hope. See Ezekiel 37:11-14. There are moments when dreams feel dead, when purpose feels buried, when hope seems impossible. Ezekiel reminds us that what looks finished is not beyond God's power. Sometimes the valley is where restoration begins. From the beginning, God formed Adam from the dust and breathed into him the breath of life. Now, in Ezekiel's vision, the same God shows that his power to give life has not changed. What he created, he is able to restore. See Genesis 2:7 and Ezekiel 37. But Ezekiel wasn't the only prophet to witness fire from heaven. The next prophet walked onto Mount Carmel, faced hundreds of false prophets, and prayed a prayer so powerful that fire fell from the sky. So let me ask you, what part of your life feels like dry bones today? And what would change if you believed God could still bring life where everyone else sees the end? Why not hit the subscribe button, chosen one, so you don't miss out on any of our episode? Because the year was approximately 860 BC. The northern kingdom of Israel was ruled by King Ahab, together with Queen Jezebel. They had led the nation into the worship of Baal. Altars to the true God were abandoned, and the prophets of the Lord were hunted. See 1 Kings 18. Elijah stood before the people and asked one of the Bible's most challenging questions. How long will you waver between two opinions? If the Lord is God, follow him. But if Baal is God, follow him. The crowd said nothing. See 1 Kings 18:21. 2 altars, 2 sacrifices, 1 challenge. No one would light the fire. The true God would answer by fire. The prophets of Baal cried out all morning. They shouted, they danced, they pleaded, but no voice answered. No one responded. See 1 Kings 18:26-29. Then Elijah did something remarkable. He repaired the broken altar of the Lord. He used 12 stones, 1 for each tribe of Israel. Then he poured water over everything. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. He removed every excuse. Then Elijah prayed. It wasn't a long prayer. It wasn't a loud prayer. It was a prayer filled with faith. And suddenly, fire fell from heaven. It consumed the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, the dust, and even the water. See 1 Kings 18:36-38. The people fell face down and cried, "The Lord, He is God. The Lord, He is God." It wasn't merely a miracle. It was a call to return. Today, we may never stand on Mount Carmel, but every day, we decide what truly sits on the throne of our hearts: success, money, approval, or God? Elijah's question still echoes today. Fire often represented God's presence. Moses saw it in the burning bush. Israel followed it in the wilderness. At Pentecost, something like tongues of fire rested upon the disciples. Throughout Scripture, fire points us to God's holy presence and His transforming power. See Exodus 3, Exodus 13, and Acts 2. But Elijah's greatest miracle wasn't the fire. It was what happened next. The same prophet who called fire from heaven would soon run into the wilderness, feeling completely defeated. And there, he would discover that God doesn't always speak through fire. Sometimes, He speaks in a whisper. Elijah stood on Mount Carmel. One prayer. Fire fell from heaven. A nation cried, "The Lord, He is God." It looked like the greatest victory of his life. But only days later, the same prophet would sit alone, praying to die. How can someone go from the mountain to the valley so quickly? After Mount Carmel, Queen Jezebel threatened Elijah's life. He ran into the wilderness, sat beneath a broom tree, and prayed, "It is enough, take away my life." Even the strongest believers can face moments of overwhelming exhaustion. 1 Kings 19:1-4. Notice something remarkable. God didn't begin with a sermon. He sent an angel. The angel gave Elijah fresh bread and water. Sometimes, the first miracle is simply rest, strengthened by that meal. Elijah traveled 40 days and 40 nights until he reached Mount Horeb, the same mountain where Moses met with God. Then God told Elijah, "Stand on the mountain." A violent wind came. It shattered rocks. But the Lord was not in the wind. Then, an earthquake. But the Lord was not in the earthquake. Then, fire. But the Lord was not in the fire. 1 Kings 19:11-12. And after the fire came a gentle whisper, or as some translations say, a still small voice. When Elijah heard it, he covered his face and stepped out, because he knew God was there. On Mount Carmel, God revealed His power. On Mount Horeb, He revealed His heart. Sometimes, we look for God in dramatic moments, but many times, He speaks in quiet faithfulness. The whisper can be just as life-changing as the fire. Over this series, we stood beside Isaiah and saw heaven open. We watched Ezekiel describe wheels within wheels. We followed Daniel through visions of kingdoms. We learned from Jeremiah to trust God's promises. We walked through the valley of dry bones. We stood with Elijah on Mount Carmel. And today, we discovered that God's greatest message may come in a whisper. But our journey is far from over. We've heard the voices of the prophets. Now, we're going to meet the people who lived the greatest stories ever told. Men and women whose faith changed history forever. Our next series is called The Men and Women Who Changed the Bible. From Abraham to Esther, from Ruth to Joseph, we're about to discover the people behind the promises. So let me leave you with one question. When God speaks, are you only listening for the fire? Or are you willing to hear the whisper? If this series strengthened your faith, subscribe, share it with someone who needs hope, and I'll see you in our next journey.